Hello and welcome to the first long-form edition of Fed Threads, where we see what the CIA's been posting on the social media app Threads. Now, if you're not on Threads, you don't know this, but it's a predominantly left-leaning app. And so most of the propaganda that you see on it is trying to keep left-leaning people from becoming MAGA or becoming radically left and leaving the Democratic Party. So the entire app is full of posts like this. And if you leftists don't vote again in the midterm or 2028, so help me God. There's a bunch of posts like this. I could go over all of them, but the point is the primary doctrine, the thing that you must know is true if you are a Threads user, is that the leftists have destroyed this country. Now, why do they want you to think that? It's because the Democratic Party is failing on an unprecedented level. They can't win elections, they aren't convincing, and none of their promises are really ever going to come to fruition. And so a lot of people that are on the left, that are in the Democratic Party, are looking around and going, I think I'm done. And they're either becoming MAGA, or they're becoming radically left, they're becoming communist, they're becoming anarchist, they're stopping voting. And that is the part that the power elite is really worried about. Those in power are very worried about that radically left segment, because the MAGA segment is fine because they're still in the game. As long as you're a Republican or Democrat, the powers that be don't mind because you're in the game, you're in the system, you're brainwashed, okay? You have to realize that whether or not it's a Democrat or Republican in office, they are enforcing the same system of coercive hierarchy. So really, the fat cats, those at the top, they don't care who's in office. As long as somebody's in office, they're part of the two dominant parties, they're keeping the status quo going. Obama, Biden, Trump, they all deport tons of people. They all bomb countries that Israel wants us to bomb. They toe the line. But it's these radical left segments and these radical right segments. I don't know too much about them. We're not going to talk about them because they're not really part of Threads, but it's these radical left segments that have a stateless view of society. Many of them want to have a stateless society. They don't want to have a president. They don't want to have a dictator. They don't want to have a parliamentary system. They want to be free. And what that would mean is the dismantling of a capitalist system that exploits most of the world for the profit of the few. And that is very dangerous to them. They don't want that to happen. So when you go on Threads, you see tons of people that go, I'm fucking progressive, I'm cool, I'm Democrat, but really they're feds, and they want you to believe in voting. They only talk about voting. The powers that be would like you to believe that the only form of power you can exert into the world is voting. Why? Well, because voting stays within the same system. Voting doesn't hurt businesses. Voting doesn't hurt the exploitive system. It keeps it going. It legitimizes it. It justifies it. It is a wonderful lie to tell people who are exploited that they have choice, that they have freedom when they do not. So they want you to keep voting, and they want you to abdicate social responsibility to the powers that be. If you see a homeless man dying on the street, they want you to try and vote him away. They want you to try and vote food into his mouth. They don't want you to go out and form an organization that might feed them. They don't want you to help them. They don't want you to get involved with harm reduction. No, they want those people to stay on the street, so every 4 years when the politicians come, they can point at them and go, I'm going to fix that. And then they get elected, and then that guy's still there. So once you really, detached from a status view of society, a status view of progress, a status view of change, well, now your thinking is a threat to the powers that be. It's a real threat to the powers that be. I think it was Peter Gilderluz, he's an anarchist writer. He said something very smart where he said, tons of states have at times have had dictators and at times have had democratic governments, but the seat of power remains the same, which is to say that whether or not you have a dictator or you have an elected president, you're really in the same situation, which is that power is vested in a small group of people. And as long as that happens, you will not be free. But they don't want you to think that. A lot of people go, oh, if we can just get this guy elected, then we'll be free. Obama, hope. Then he killed a bunch of Syrians. You know what I mean? They want you to keep going, if we just get this guy in, then we'll be free. And it's just so funny to me because if you explained it to people who have never heard of a president, it's the dumbest idea in the world. If we were just chilling out and we were living in a horizontally structured reciprocal society, mostly just intent on surviving, not gaining a bunch of wealth, not a status society, if we were just helping each other out, and then one guy came and he was like, hey, I think I should be in charge, like I should be the president, everybody else would look around and go like, oh, okay, so we got to chop that guy's head off because that's fucking crazy. And that's what happened for millennia. For most of human history, people lived in stateless societies. They were reciprocal, they helped each other, and they were very hard to govern because a group of people that can take care of themselves and do not have a conditioned adherence to authority are very hard to govern. People that have no interest in bloodlines and succession and the gathering of wealth and resources, they're very hard to govern. People that can really take care of themselves. That was a big problem for early states. So they had to install systems of religion and patriarchy and chiefdoms, hierarchy, so people could get used to this system of being dominated. And for a while, it was still very hard. Most people in early states were slaves. They couldn't leave if they wanted to. They were constantly losing people to the periphery of the state's border where they could go live free. It's only until recently that the state has become so technologically empowered that escaping the state's grasp has become almost impossible. And so most people, when they think of progress, when they think of fighting the state, they still think of it within the statist system. They go, well, I'm going to vote. I'm going to run for office. I'm going to petition. And all of that is asking. You know what I mean? If you're protesting, if you're petitioning, if you're voting, what you're doing is you're asking for freedom. And then even if that freedom is given to you, is it really? Because it was given to you. And so that's what you see. And leftists are a very easy group to attack because they don't exist. Leftists are not a political group. People go, well, where's the left in the country? Why is the left always in infancy? What is the left in this country? It's a vague amalgamation of many different and oftentimes contradictory political systems. I consider myself an anarchist, and I know that is gay as hell, and that sucks. I'm bisexual and an anarchist. Do you know how much that sucks to have to tell people? But I tell people because the reading I've done until this point has brought me here. Maybe more reading I do will bring me somewhere else. The point is, that is a specific thought system. There are, obviously a million different types of anarchism. You can only get more specific. But the point is, that's not leftism. That's anarchism. It's a specific viewpoint. And if you're looking at things through that lens, then you can have more specific goals, objectives, and tactics, things you do, things you want to be done in the world. And it's productive. People who have specific political ideologies like anarchism, communism, things like that, they have specific goals and they work harder. Anarchists and communist groups are stronger in America than any, quote, leftist group because they actually have an idea of what they want. And so if you consider yourself a leftist, you should do more reading until that term becomes too vague and unusable for you. And you get to a point where you actually have clear objectives and directives and goals and ideas for what you want the world to be. Because as of now, this amorphous idea of the left does nobody any good. Because there are people within the left who want a socialist democracy. There are people who want communism, but still with the state. There are people who want stateless communism. There are people who want anarchism. Those four groups are not working for the same thing. And if they are working for the same thing, their tactics are so different that them working together becomes very hard. Now, do I want the world to become just some fragmented mess of close but not close enough to work together ideologies? No, I think that if enough of us begin to educate ourselves that we could reach some sort of synthesis that might make a certain amount of sense. But even before we get there, you need to know what you think. Because if you don't, then you're very susceptible to propaganda like the stuff we're seeing on Threads. And people going, well, all leftists are too acceleration. And then they're all crazy. Why don't they just vote? I mean, it's so funny to me to blame leftists for the election of Donald Trump when it's a group that doesn't exist. It is the greatest scapegoat of the 21st century. I mean, everybody's mad at leftists, and I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are. I meet Democrats, I meet social democrats, I meet moderates, I meet communists, I meet anarchists. I'm not meeting these leftists. It is a very vague term, and vagueness, especially in a time like this where a lot of things are coming about and are very unprecedented, is a very dangerous thing because it can be corrupted. It's very easy to be corrupted when you don't know what your ideas are. There are a lot of people who since October 7th have been watching a lot of TikTok and YouTube and never reading a single book and going, I'm leftist. But they don't know what they want, I support a free Palestine. I think the freest Palestine could be is without any government and away from Israel. You know what I mean? Do I want the Palestinians to get a president? I don't know. That president could betray that whole group of people. As long as the Palestinians are autonomous and can defend themselves, I don't really need them to have a government. Now, of course, you go, well, who gives a fuck? That's a stupid idea. The point is, I have a fucking idea. You ask most people who are pro-Palestine and they go, well, it's who knows, And that doesn't help anybody. I feel like a hypocrite every day because I'm not doing enough to help other people and I'm not embodying my ideals enough. But that pushes me to do more stuff. And since feeling like a hypocrite, I've done more stuff. And you won't feel like a hypocrite. You won't feel a need to do anything if your political ideology is just like water, if it just can really fit into any cup. I mean, a lot of these people that are now MAGA supporters were formerly sort of ambivalent, vague Democrats. They're like, yeah, whatever, do your own thing. But then they got annoyed by the new rhetoric of the left. They felt told what to do, and then they went to MAGA. And they wouldn't have if they actually believed in the policies of progressives. You know what I mean? If they had an actual adherence to those policies, they would go, okay, trans is new to me, but I'm a progressive. I want to learn about things. Let's see. Let's be curious. But they don't. They go off feeling. They go, yeah, whatever. Don't tell me what to do. And then somebody goes, hey, trans people exist. You should respect us. And they go, don't tell me what to do. And now they're MAGA. But it's because they never had a thought system. I don't see how most people in the world walk around without knowing that you must form a thought system. And you don't have to strictly adhere to it. It should constantly change, but you should have a system of thinking. You should have a lens with which you view things. And it's not about being right. It's just about having a consistency to your thinking that will lead you to more concrete actions and thoughts and not let you be so vulnerable to the kind of propaganda that we see all the time. Most of America is very susceptible to propaganda because we used to be an educated public. There were small groups that educated themselves on different things. Now we've become a mass of people that are very vague and very susceptible. And really, to that mass, you just poke at their emotions. You're not talking to a real group of people with an ideology and a goal and a drive. You're talking to a bunch of people who are just waiting to be swindled. So, I don't know. I would say to get away from the kind of propaganda you see online, you have to get into a book. I'm sorry, you have to read a book. There's a lot of great videos, there's a lot of great interviews, but read a book. It will slow you down. Learning is not fun, and the truth is gray. But it's there for you. It's ready for you. Stop just watching videos that get you hyped up and then being a dick to your uncle. You're not helping anybody. Go to a food kitchen. Do something. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is the first of what is going to be hopefully a fun series. I hope you keep supporting it. If you liked it, please subscribe and like the video or don't. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Anyway, thank you.